Hey there, welcome back to the Content Systems for Growth podcast. If you've been thinking about launching that podcast, creating a course, or finally setting up that email funnel, but you keep putting it off, you're in the right place. You know it's important, yet every time you sit down to start, you find yourself doing something else. Like tweaking your website, answering your emails, scrolling through all your social media, and before you know it, another day or perhaps a month has passed, and that big project is still sitting on your to-do list. Does this sound familiar to you? Well, today we're going to change that, friend, because moving from procrastination to planning isn't just about motivation. It's about breaking free from that overwhelm and creating a system that makes taking action so much easier. Go ahead and grab your coffee, settle in, and let's talk about how you can finally stop spinning your wheels and start making some real progress. Let's be honest, because procrastination isn't about being lazy, friend. I know, I get it. If you're like most entrepreneurs, you're probably very motivated when it comes to serving your clients, maybe checking all those daily tasks, or even brainstorming new ideas. But when it comes to starting something big, something unfamiliar, your brain starts to throw up all these roadblocks. But why is that? Because procrastination feels so safe to us. I want you to travel back to the beginning of this podcast with me, because when I transitioned from doing weekly YouTube videos, one would think that was harder, right? To launching my podcast, it took over 4 months. 4 months to actually get it off the ground. Not because I didn't have the skills, not because I didn't know how to do it. I understand it. Tech is easy for me. But because I let fear creep in. I let fear creep in and I let it tell me, what if the podcast doesn't work? What if nobody listens? And what if I'm making the wrong move? And if I'm being really honest, there was something else keeping me stuck. I have a really hard time letting things go. Even when they're no longer serving me, even when I know that I should be doing something else, I know that should work, but I know in my heart that I need to move on, I still will cling to things for far longer than I should. And I think it has something to do with that time investment that I put into it, or the money investment I put into it. I get caught up in that sunk cost of things. I don't know if you can feel me on that or not, but as much time as I put into my YouTube, that it felt wrong. I had invested so much time, so much energy, and so much effort into my YouTube channel. I had a really hard time stepping away from that and just saying, I'm washing my hands of it. Even though I knew that a podcast would actually resonate more with my target audience and be a better fit for my business and my life personally. And I had to remind myself that I could always go back to my YouTube channel and YouTube videos if I felt this podcast was not going to be the thing for me. But it was. And I absolutely love podcasting now. And as I mentioned before, it was all those feelings of guilt over the time, energy, and money that I put into it that was actually keeping me more stuck than anything else. Again, the sunk cost of things. Maybe you can relate. I actually hope you can relate to it. But here's the thing. Each of us have different reasons that our mind keeps us stuck. But at the core, it's usually some sort of fear, like fear of failure, of making a wrong choice, or fear of even letting go. So you can see all 3 of those fears that I had when I went to launch something. But even when I recorded my first ever YouTube video, I didn't do it from a place of confidence and clarity. Absolutely not. I did it from a place of frustration because it had been a long time since I had created any sort of long form content. And I knew that I had to do something different because at that time, I was not a big fan of writing blog posts. But whether I was recording a video or writing a blog post, we all know that when you create from a place of frustration, that's not the energy you want to create your content with. But here's the truth. God did not call you to a life of hesitation. He called you to step out in faith. He called you to trust Him. And I know for me personally, that is a challenge, but still, I know I need to let go and trust his plan. So, that podcast, that course, that business idea you've been working on, you weren't given that vision by accident, friend. But your calling requires actual action from you, just not thinking about it. The good news, you don't have to figure it all out today. You just need to take one small step forward. If you're stuck in procrastination mode, let's break that pattern because procrastination isn't a bad habit. It's often wired into our brains because this is what happened. Your limbic system is responsible for your emotions and your immediate responses, and it craves that immediate gratification. And when we have it so readily to us, it wants it even more. And it pushes you towards that default action that feels so comfortable. Wants to keep you in that safe zone, doesn't it? But your prefrontal cortex, which controls your decision making and your long-term planning, that knows you need to take action now, will benefit your life in the long run. But it's hard when you're trying to fight both of those things, right? So that's what's actually keeping us stuck in that procrastination habit. I knew there had to be some science behind it, right? Instead of moving forward, you stay in the planning stage because research feels like a positive thing, even though it's just another form of procrastination. I like to get into the planning stage a little too often. But you want to fill your days with those smaller tasks that make you feel productive, but don't actually move the needle forward. You wait for the right time, thinking you'll feel more prepared next time, but guess what? You're not going to. You'll convince yourself that you need enough time to do things perfectly because that leads to poor time management and scrambling at the last minute. So let me ask you, do you avoid big projects because they feel overwhelming to you? Do you tell yourself you need to be in the right mood before you start? Do you push things off to the following day just because you don't feel like doing them now? Do you struggle with effective planning and taking action in manageable chunks? If you answered yes to any of these, I want to help you break out of that cycle. I want to help you rewire your procrastination habit with just a little NLP exercise. And I just want you to try it and see if it actually works for you. If you don't feel comfortable, just go ahead and skip it. Not a big deal, but it's something that I know works for me. So hopefully it'll work for you too. Again, when you fall into that pattern of fear that's holding you back, this can be something that's quite helpful. Okay, like I said, this is a quick NLP reprogramming technique that'll help you shift out of that procrastination mode and into action. And this is something that I use for myself as well. I hope it is helpful to you as well. Of course, if you're driving, please do not do this. But if you're somewhere where it's safe to close your eyes and do a short visualization with me, I'd love for you to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is close our eyes and just imagine yourself on a movie screen. So you have your eyes closed and you can see that picture in your mind. Do you see yourself staring at a blank page, hesitating and feeling overwhelmed? That's the first piece, right? Where we are procrastinating and stepping back. I want you to now fast forward that scene. I want you to picture yourself fully in action. You're sitting at your desk, you're working on your project, and everything is with ease. Now I want you to step into that future version of yourself. And I want you to feel like you're in full action mode. You know exactly every step that you need to get your podcast, your launch, anything done that you're working on. What's that project working on? How do you know that you are in full action mode? And then we're going to future pace your success. I want you to imagine it's a few months from now when your project is actually complete. How does it feel? What opportunities have been opened up for you because you have done that? I really want you to think about it and feel all the feels. And if you need to envision how it was in the past with something that you actually succeeded at, then go ahead and do that because that will help you put that feeling in place, because I really want you to anchor yourself into that feeling. I want you to breathe into it. I want you to commit to it. I want you to embody that version of yourself. Like, who are you when you are the person that completes your projects? Who are you when you are the person that actually sits down and plans out your projects? It's a simple 5-minute visualization, but that really can help you shift your default action from avoidance to action, friends. Okay, it's time to wrap this up. At the end of the day, the only person who can take action and move forward is you. So if it's challenging you right now, what's the next small step you can take today? And hey, maybe that one small step you take today is just putting time on your calendar to plan out your next big project. Maybe it's writing your first podcast outline. Maybe it's setting up your course platform. Maybe it's booking time on your calendar for that project you've been avoiding. Whatever it is, just do it today. Just take one tiny small step forward. Because here's the thing, God doesn't call us to wait for the perfect time. He calls us to take the next step. Don't wait. Don't overthink it. Just take that action. I believe in you, friend, and I can't wait to see what you create. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you, and I hope you make it a wonderful week. Yay! Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you found this episode valuable and learned some actionable tips that you can implement in your business so that you can feel accomplished and less stressed. If you enjoyed this show, please take a quick minute to share this with your business bestie, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps me reach more business owners just like you. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes, please reach out to me on my website. I've created a form just for you. Remember, with the right system and mindset, you can achieve the success your heart desires. Thank you for tuning in. I look forward to chatting with you next time. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful week. And don't forget, let's grow, friends.